Welcome back to Gran Jacamito in the Pedroche Valley of Andalusia, Spain. In this video, I'm going to give you a lot of technical information and also commercial data about where we stand, what has happened, and you can also think a little bit ahead to anticipate what's coming next.
I am here in City 1 and gave these guys their feed, and now that I'm here I will go and check out this whale to see if there's some water in it. I expect to see some water, but not a lot. So just as I expected, in here there's something, because the bottom is clay, and over there in the actual swale I see a shimmer of water. Let's see how it looks like from a closer distance. And as I'm standing here, this is the area above CT2, where we had the mules to seed, and then it dried out because we started too late. We are working on getting the seed, and then we will repeat the experiment. And as you can see, it has greened up, and a lot of plants that had their seed in the natural seed bank in the soil, they have come up. So if we were to leave this alone for a while, this would also green up again, but it definitely needs a lot more variety, and those taller growing plants like the sun hemp, the corn and the sunflowers, they should definitely help there. So that is what we want to put out there as soon as the bags have arrived. So yes, the mud here is definitely moist, as you can see from that standing water. Here and there are a few sprinkles of rain, but it's not the rain like in the previous video where there was a real downpour and suddenly everything filled up. But that's already a few days ago. So this is the other integrated pond, and as you can see, it is filled, but not definitely as it used to be at the same time of the year in previous years. So we are still lacking a lot of the rainfall that we used to get. And again, here this is also a bit moist. There's some standing water, but further ahead it is not as we would like it to be. And I have to admit a little bit that we are kind of limping ahead. So we are doing things, but we have to be patient and do things at a slower pace than we would like to, because all these things need to be financed, and currently my IT business is a little bit slow. So I am, to be frank, out of a job in the IT world since October, and now it's almost the end of March. So even a lot of reserve at some point they will be empty. So I definitely need to find something, but at the moment we survive. But we need to be careful what to buy, what to invest in, and what not. I'm working on solutions, so nothing really bad is about to happen. But that's one of the reasons why here and there we are not doing things that require us to purchase something. And speaking about the economic stuff, I wanted to share something about the bovines that we had to slaughter by order of the government. For those who have just dialed into this video and don't know the story, so here in Andalusia we have a lot of problem with tuberculosis, and that means every bovine herd gets checked every 6 months, and if the tuberculin test turns out positive for a given animal, then it will get put a marker in the rumen so that there is no way to change the earmarks for whatever reason. Some people do because they somehow don't want the animal to leave the farm. Of course, it's not a smart idea, but they have their reasons or misunderstandings, doesn't matter. So that is why the veterinarian, who then does the inspection as part of the government, puts this marker inside the rumen so that you cannot replace or exchange it. And we had to truck them to a slaughterhouse in Morón de la Frontera, which is almost in Seville. To us in a car that meant 2.5 hours driving, in a truck probably 4 hours. And we went there personally to see how this looks like, and that slaughterhouse is a little bit bigger than the one that we had to use before for the same reason. They basically can process 3 animals at a given point in time, while the other one only could do 1. Therefore, also a few more people are working there, but it's definitely not one of those factory slaughterhouses where they slaughter thousands of animals per day. It's very, 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 very far away from that. So, in the cooler, where we then could have a look at our carcasses, there were maybe 20, at the most 25, and that was all the animals of that day. So it's definitely a smallish operation, but bigger than the other one. And just a few days ago, I received a document that explains how much that slaughterhouse is going to pay us. So for the 2 calves that we had to slaughter and the 4 adults, we are going to receive 3,400 something. I will actually blend in here in this video that document so that you can have a look and also see the carcass weights and all this. And keep in mind, those were animals that we had to slaughter based on a government order, so their weights are definitely less than what we would expect. So off the top of my head, the bull that we unfortunately had to give up, it was supposed to be the breeding bull in the future. That bull cost us 1,600 euro, and now the slaughter weight was something like 380, and that definitely is a huge loss in any sense of the word. So this is definitely not something that's working out. But then the government gives you some sort of a subsidy, so the government pays you for taking away your animals. We will have to see. They did this the last time also, but we still have not received the money. Supposedly for the 2 animals we are going to receive 1,700, but if you don't receive it in a timely fashion, it means nothing, so it's not really a help. On paper it is helping, but in reality it's not. So supposedly we were about to receive it at the beginning of this year, and then by the end of February, and nothing has shown up yet. So that's the other side. Eventually it will, but it hasn't. So as you can see, even if this were now for a different motivation, not for tuberculosis, selling cattle in that way is definitely not a sustainable business, and no wonder that a lot of people giving up, because it makes no sense. So again, the numbers are off the top of my head as I walk here. So if you have a bull that you raise for, let's say, 5 years, and if you then look at the numbers and you get less than 1,000 or maybe 1,200, it makes no sense. And that slaughterhouse is the supplier of a lot of butcher shops around in the area where they are located. So they are the supplier of retailers, the butchers, who then sell to end customers. Of course, all these hens need to be fed, and it's no wonder that at the end or actually at the beginning of the value stream, not a lot sticks, because all the margin is eaten up by the intermediaries. And this does not make sense unless you multiply that number with another larger number, like 100. And then, of course, suddenly it becomes viable. But extensive ranching is then not the way, because extensive ranching requires a lot of land, and you have to look after the land like we are trying to do, and if you don't, then it will degrade. So eventually you end up at factory farming, the thing that we don't want to do. So we are not in the business of making money by selling cattle and all this. This is an ecosystem restoration project, and one of the motivation is because my family and I want to live in a place that is interesting, nice and green. So we do this for a different reason. But of course we also like to have some passive income in the future when I am a little bit older and not offering my services in the IT world anymore. So that is part of the strategy, because at the end of the day we all need water, food and shelter, and a piece of land. And if you own the structure where you live in, is then definitely a part of that safety net. And if you also raise your own food, be it sourced from animals or from plants, then definitely it can help. But this is not the dream to be self-sufficient by means of gardening, because that is very hard to do. Only a few people achieve this, and basically they spend whole day and cannot do any other thing. So you kind of have to turn it into a small-scale business. So then the business part suddenly becomes important, even if you did not start it with that thought. So that is why we need to get this to work and somehow come to net zero. So that means that cost and sale balance each other out, and the business does not rely on any investment from outside, like me earning money in IT so that I can spend it on farming. This is not how it's supposed to be in the long run. At the moment it's an investment, and I don't mind, because it's for us. So the money will not go away, it will stay with us. It gets transformed into a green land. But this is how things are. So now I have shared a few numbers, and let's see what else I will be able to share over time, because I like transparency. Open source software is the same kind of transparency, so that we all can learn from all these things. This here is the little cow 0575, who had difficulties giving birth to a male calf that was too big. She probably got pregnant from the big whitish bull, and that one is pretty big. And the calf is dead, and we were able to help her, to fix her up, so to say. And for the moment we keep her here in this little corral. There isn't that much to eat anymore, but at least she is not with the rest of the herd, where the risk is that they will try to do her harm. That happens in a bovine herd. Weak animals are being pushed out in order to protect the rest of the herd. And I should also mention that the bulls definitely will kill another herd member if there is blood involved. That is to protect the rest of the herd. So if this one had been completely alone, with us being present and helping, she would be dead by now, killed by the bulls in the herd. That is how it works. That is extensive ranching. If you do this in a barn, in a stable, and in a very controlled environment with human interaction all the time, then of course this does not happen. But if you let them graze outside and be the animal they are, then that is also part of their way of life. There's nothing bad about this, it's just how it is. In any wild herd, depending on the species, you can find similar things. So, for the time being, we keep her here. Maybe next week, when we think she's a bit stronger, she can then join everybody else. Of course, this is not the best way, because she's a herd animal and should not be alone. What I can also share is that yesterday the guys did a quick pass over 3 or 4 different paddocks. Quick means an hour and a half, just to bite off the tip. And then we will let this grow. The idea is now that we are coming into spring and there is a lot of sunshine and moisture. Sunshine was on the other days, and the forecast also talks about a lot of sunshine. The idea is to get these solar panels in place so that these plants, all the grasses, can grow, and this goes a lot better if there is enough plant left, hence the solar panel, and then the grass will create more roots and also more leaf, and therefore there is more forage later. So the idea was to feed the animals yesterday and at the same time do some maintenance, so to say, in order to make these paddocks come up well. And as you can see, probably, depending on the light situation, I wish we had a little bit of sunshine right now. It is definitely a lot more grassy. There is a lot less of the yellow mustard, except in all those places where the soil still is bad, and bad means sandy. And there where we have more biomass, the mustard has disappeared. We do let the horses graze inside the compound now every day and treat this as a grazing session, because as you can see, there is a lot of forage that is coming up, and this helps to also have the compound green. Of course, here and there we will build something in those places, like there where Solo is standing and eating. But in general, it will help to get the compound a little bit more fertile than it used to be. And this type of maintenance does work. And this helps in the overall appearance of the whole place. And there in the distance you can see that the flowers of the peach tree are looking nice. I wish we had a little bit more sunshine right now, so that I can show you this a little bit better. But this will have to do. And we are making some progress, despite of all the other challenges that we have to overcome.